Hi, my name is Olajide Olagunju, and I'm the author of How to Resolve a Conflict. That's the book right in front of you, How to Resolve a Conflict. And you are right now in a lecture series titled How to Resolve a Conflict, and this is lecture 12. I welcome you, and I hope you find the discussion interesting today. I welcome you to post your comments and contributions, recommendations, critique, so that we can learn better. Let's now begin the lecture. Yesterday, we looked at where you should put amicable dispute resolution in the forefront of our efforts to resolve conflict effectively. That was chapter 3. We're looking at chapter 3 of the book and discussing. I'd like to end the discussion around chapter 3 now. I'll just read the last few reads from the book, about 1-2 paragraphs, and then we'll discuss, and then we'll see how far we go. And the book says, I will end this chapter by reporting the eye-opening feedback of a mediation user. I think what he said captures the essence of this conflict resolution mechanism. So, and I quote, mediation gives the parties a day in court in a way which litigation doesn't, giving them an opportunity to air their feelings and thus removing emotional blockages, leaving the way open to agreement between parties. Before the mediation, people focus on the strengths and weaknesses of a case, but mediation helps to focus on a solution. Put the parties back in control. Mediation puts the parties back in control. We settled in one day's mediation a case that had been in the courts for 2 years, thus drastically reducing cost and management time, yet without any risk of compromising our position by agreeing to a mediation. So it's truly a win-win situation. They didn't have to. By the way, I just cited David G. Mundell of the British Telecommunications Group, Legal Services. So I think that what he had to say is worthy of note. So let's look at it critically. Let's look at that citation, that comment critically. He says mediation gives the parties a day in court in a way which litigation doesn't. Very powerful and interesting. Litigation is supposed to be the method that gives parties a day in court. That's pretty obvious. But the truth is that there is a process, mediation, which gives the parties a day in court, better than the court itself. It means parties are better heard. They are better listened to. Their opinions carry more weight than if they had been in court. And I would go into more details on this in chapter 10, but I can understand why this is so. When a judge is listening to you, they are listening with, permit me to say, half their mind. Because in litigation, they must reserve the other half for the other party. That's how it goes. So they are listening to you, a party, talking in court. They're in fact recording what you are saying. But they're all the time waiting for the other party to come and talk so that they could also record that. Now that looks great, that looks appropriate, that looks like justice. But it's an adversarial system justice. Because, again, as I said in an earlier lecture in this series, parties win on best performance. And people perform more than others. So the litigation is like a drama. And so you could put on a show. You could act well. And if you're a good actor, because the court has to determine, as it were, best performance, based on best performance, you could win even if you had a weak case. Because the court and the judge is only mandated to act on what is put before him. And there are many reasons why people in an adversarial system will not put everything before the judge. Why? It's they have to win or lose. It's a win-lose situation in litigation. And so what you do, even if you appear to present all the facts before the court, it's likely that the presentation emphasizes what is favorable, in quote, to you, the speaker, the performer, the courtroom performer, than what would help the other party's case. Why? Because you are there to battle, to win. So you will do everything to win. So as it were, you've had your day in court. But the truth is that you could do better, and you most likely will get a better deal in an amicable setting. Because in an amicable setting, you do not have to perform or play to the gallery. Because you know that at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that you will win. Whichever side you are in, you will win. Because it is fashion to make you win. It's not fashion to make you a loser, to give you a bad face. So mediation, more than litigation, gives parties an opportunity to air their feelings. Very important also. Apart from stating the facts, they are also able to air their feelings and thus remove emotional blockages. I said in one of the earlier lectures that emotional blockages play a nuisance value, have a nuisance value, because they block your ability to really face what the issues are. The feelings came up, the emotional blockage came up as a result of the conflict. They are not the conflict, but they block amicable, effective dispute resolution. Now, the court is unconcerned about how you feel about your conflict. That's the name of the game. The the court, the arbitrator, the judge, arbitrator is not interested in how you feel. And that is why the decision they would give would ignore your feeling. Not because the feelings are not important. That's the reason, of course, they will give. But because the paradigm from which litigation and arbitration generally um, act and move and do things is a paradigm of adversity. And so it has nothing to do with what the conflict has done to you. And sometimes, I would say, most, if not all the time, when you're in conflict, emotions arise. You feel most likely bad. even if it's a diplomatic conflict or a political conflict, a national conflict, a local conflict, grassroots conflict, marital conflict, business conflict, a partnership conflict, whatever, whichever. Once there's a conflict, it's likely you will feel bad. And it is likely that your feeling bad will block your ability to effectively deal with the conflict effectively. But when you use mediation, the emotions are taken cognizance of. Why? Because the mediator knows that they play and have a nuisance value. So they help you to unpack them, to address them, to deal with them, to make you to feel better. And once the temperature of feelings go down, your mind is free for productive thinking. And that leaves the way open to agreement between parties. As I read earlier on, before the mediation, people focus on the strengths and weaknesses of a case because they see themselves as antagonists. Once mediation and amicable settlement procedure or process is introduced, there's a paradigm shift. Because mediation, amicable settlement processes help to focus on a solution. It empowers the parties, put the parties back in control of their conflict. And that's what it should be, because this is their conflict. It is their relationship. They are in the best position, not a judge and arbitrator, to determine the outcome, because they know how important the solution is to their relationship, to them, as individuals, as people in a relationship. And this lawyer testifies here that they settled in one day's mediation a case that had been in the courts for 2 years. Now, I mentioned that earlier. I've spoken to that earlier. I mentioned my own involvement in mediation that took 1 hour, 15 minutes, 75 minutes. And I said it could have taken years. And even if we won or the other party won, in the court, or even at arbitration, it would have dragged on at another forum forever. Well, maybe not forever, but for a long time. And I said much earlier in this series that sometimes children inherit their father's disputes and litigation. So, in this particular case that our colleague just mentioned, They settled in one day's mediation a case that had been in the courts for 2 years. So the case was already in the court. They were not making progress. And this is very strange, very strange. 2 years on one case. You can imagine how much it would have spent, how frustrated it would have been. But once they decided to try mediation, to try ADL, to try amicable dispute resolution, they made a paradigm shift from warring, from fighting, from unnecessary quarreling and brinkmanship to collaborating. And as he said, without any risk of compromising their positions by the agreement to mediate. So think about it. Think about it. I think life would be better for all if we advocate and become activists for amicable dispute resolution. We push the idea to make a society more prosperous, more healthy, and our humanity will be emphasized rather than our unnecessary differences. Let's stop here for today, and we'll continue the lecture tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me, and please, I'll be happy to see your reaction to this lecture.